Hey guys, so today I'm going to be filming my 2017 TBR part 2, and for today's video I'm going to be talking about all of the classics that I want to read in 2017. And in a previous video I mentioned that I picked 12 classics out for me to read this year, so in this video I'm going to show you all those 12 classics that I'm going to read throughout the year of 2017. So the first book that I plan on reading is The Dharma Bums by Jack Kerouac. I still haven't read On the Road by Jack Kerouac, but this book is more appealing to me. I do have On the Road, so if I feel like reading it after this one, I will. But I want to read this book during the summer because that's when it takes place, and I read that it has to do with slam poetry, which is like one of my favorite things ever, so I'm really excited to pick this up. And this is a Penguin. I think it's just like the regular Penguin edition I got this at Barnes & Noble. The next book that I want to read is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I feel like the worst person ever for not already reading this book because Peter Pan is one of my favorite, it is my favorite Disney movie. It's like one of my favorite stories ever, and every time there's a Peter Pan retelling I love it, but I still have never read the original work by J.M. Barrie, so I definitely want to do that this year. And this is the Barnes & Noble Classic Edition with the like gilded edges, and it's super pretty, and it's like the most beautiful book I own, and I love it so much. The next book that I want to read is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This is the Penguin English Library edition, and this is like, well, Anne Bronte is like the most underrated Bronte that everybody says. I've read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I really loved it, but everyone says this is like a million times better. So I'm excited to see what I think about it. I heard it's like really progressive for the time that it was written in, and I'm just really excited. This is like one of the book that I'm anticipating reading the most in 2017. The next book is like my second most anticipated read for next year, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. This is the Knickerbocker Classics edition. It's like the cloth flexi-bound one with the ribbon. These are my favorite types of classics. It's the only one I own, but it's like I already know it's my favorite. And I've never read anything by Charles Dickens except for A Christmas Carol, so I'm really excited to read this and see how I feel about it and maybe expand my collection. I think I'm gonna love Dickens, so hopefully I do, and I'll let you guys know how I feel about this when I read it next year. The next two books I don't have the dust jacket on for, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is like the Barnes & Noble like edition. They're like the hardcover editions that are only like $6. I don't know, like I haven't seen any of these in my Barnes & Noble recently, so I don't even know if they still sell them anymore. But yeah, I have this edition, and this is Pride and Prejudice. Like I said, I've never read a Jane Austen. I read like a few chapters of Emma a few months ago, and I really liked it, and then I put it down, and I don't know why. So like if I like this, I'm gonna pick up Emma later in the year, which I think I'll like this because I've seen the movie before and it's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to read my first Austen ever. The next book that I plan on reading is the same edition as the last one, and that's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is my favorite poet of like all time. I love everything he writes, and so I thought it would be fitting for me to read his only novel, and this is like super popular and famous and whatever, but I'm really excited to read it. I don't know when I'll get to it, but I'm excited to, and like I said, this is the same edition as the last one. And then everything else that I want to read is on my Kindle, so I will be putting pictures up here, and I'm sure at some point I will be getting physical copies of all of these books. So yeah, so starting off, the first book that I want to read is, or you know, continuing on, is Jekyll and Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I've always wanted to read this book, like I've always had an interest in it, but what really made me super interested in it was Once Upon a Time, because they did the whole like story of the land of forgotten stories or whatever, and it features Jekyll and Hyde, which is like super cool. So I'm really interested in that story, and that's going to be really fun to read during Halloween. The next book that I'm super excited to read is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I don't know if super excited is like the right words to say reading this book, but I'm very intrigued by this book, and I've heard some really great things about it. I know it's like really depressing and really sad, and obviously everybody knows the inevitable demise of Sylvia Plath, so I'm excited to see her writing and see how I feel about it. The next book that I want to read is Villette by Charlotte Bronte, and what made me want to read this book is Amanda Senter's review on it. She talked about it in like such an eloquent and amazing way that like I was like, I need to pick this book up right now, so I'm definitely going to do that in 2017. And then I also want to read the first book in the Anne of Green Gables series. I don't want to read the whole series because I've heard that it's not super great. I mean, like, I might change my mind after I read the first book, but as of right now, I just want to read the first book, see how I feel, and you know, move on with that. So I'm excited to read Anne of Green Gables because I never have before and everybody loves that series. And then the last thing that I want to read is A Woman of No Importance by Oscar Wilde. That is one of his plays, and I heard it's really funny and like super great, so I'm excited to read that. So these are all the books that I want to read that are classics for next year in 2017. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!